Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, today I have another Letterboxd recap video for you guys. So this is everything I watched in July. I don't think I watched as many films in July as I did in June, so this might be a little bit of a shorter video, but it is what it is. It was still a really great month, so let's get into it. So we started off the month of July with a rewatch of I Know What You Did Last Summer. We actually got to rewatch this at the Draft House on July 1st, which is also Dalton's birthday, so we went for his birthday. Now, of course, I already covered I Know What You Did Last Summer and the sequel on my channel, so go check out those videos if you want to hear my thoughts on those films. Personally, I've always really enjoyed this film. It's one of my favorites of that era. You know, that post-Scream teen slasher era. I think this film is really fun despite, not being as good as Scream. So yeah, I didn't really want to miss seeing this on the big screen. I just thought it would be a really fun time to rewatch a movie that I know I like on the big screen and just have fun. And it was a super fun start to the month. So the next movie I saw in July was Maxine, the very highly anticipated Maxine. Of course, Dalton and I already reviewed that for you guys, so you can check that out on my channel if you haven't yet. But yeah, just briefly, my thoughts on the film. Once again, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was as good as X. I don't think it was as good as Pearl, but I still had a blast watching it. I think it ended up playing out a lot less like a giallo or even a slasher, and more like just a super fun 80s action film, kind of like Savage Streets or something like that. Mia Goth was wonderful and all the supporting cast was great as well. The soundtrack was freaking awesome. Unfortunately, I only got a chance to see it one time in theaters, but I definitely am looking forward to watching it again when the time comes. I really enjoyed Maxine. Alrighty, so the next film I watched in July was Fast Times at Ridgemont High from 1982. This was a rewatch for me. I grew up watching this film. I'm very familiar with it. But one day in early July, I was just sitting there thinking, Longlegs is coming out pretty soon, and I'm kind of in the mood to watch some old school Nicolas Cage films. And weirdly enough, the first two that came to mind were Valley Girl and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Even though I will say Nicolas Cage is literally only in Fast Times at Ridgemont High for like a total of 20 seconds. And I knew he was barely in it, but I still wanted to rewatch it anyway. So I showed Dalton this movie for the first time. And yeah, we had a blast with this one. It had actually been a super long time since I rewatched it, but I am happy to report that it still holds up, at least for me. It's a classic for a reason. Sean Penn is hilarious in this, and I really want to get the Criterion release of this film. And of course, like I just mentioned, I watched Valley Girl from 1983. I watched my super beautiful Eureka release of the film. My feelings are a little bit more complicated when it comes to Valley Girl, because while I absolutely adore this film, I do have some issues with it, just mainly being the super gratuitous sex and nudity. And listen, before you come at me, I know it's a teen sex comedy. I mean, I just praised Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which arguably has even more sex and nudity, but it's because the sex and nudity in Valley Girl just feels out of place to me. It almost hinders the film, and it's even more frustrating when you find out that the director was basically forced to add more nudity and sex into the film just to get more butts in the seat in 1983. Because I actually really do think this could have been a really cute PG-13 teen romance movie, like a Can't Buy Me Love or something like that. But I digress. That's really my only issue with the film. I love this film otherwise. I adore Nicolas Cage in this movie. The soundtrack is killer, and I really do recommend this film if you somehow have not seen it yet. Alrighty, so next movie we ended up watching was Sid and Nancy from 1986. So not a very lighthearted romantic movie. This was, again, a rewatch for me, but honestly, it had been such a long time since I watched this movie that it felt like a first-time watch for me. And again, this is a strange one because it's so weird for me to say that I enjoyed this movie because this is such a downer of a movie and it's so difficult to watch, but it is a super well-made film and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So I really love this movie. I love anything about punk music, punk culture, and I'm already pretty familiar with the story of Sid and Nancy. But just insufferable people. Like, I mean, I don't doubt that this is how they actually were in real life. And it is really such a tragic story, but everyone in this movie is miserable and it does make it kind of hard to watch. With that being said though, still amazing performances, and I'm super glad that I had the time to rewatch it because I had been wanting to rewatch this for a long time. Okay, next up, Dalton and I watched Body Double from 1984. We actually got to see this at the Draft House. This is another film that's been on my watch list ever since I found the VHS tape while thrifting. And this film has such a beautiful VHS cover, like the poster for the film. You know, I've had the VHS tape displayed on my media shelf, but I never actually watched the film before. So when I saw that the Draft House was showing it, I'm like, hell yes, gotta see that on the big screen. Really quick, I apologize for the horrendous lighting in this video. This is gonna be so hard for me to edit, I swear. I film right in front of a window and the sun is just going in and out behind clouds, and yeah, sorry if it's annoying you because it's annoying me. Let's just try to ignore it the best we can. But anyways, I really enjoyed Body Double. It's incredibly cheesy in parts, which is to be expected. I actually found myself super involved in the mystery of the plot. It's got an amazing soundtrack and score as well, just super 80s synth, super new wave too. I really want to rewatch this again. I wound up rating it a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Yeah, it was just a super fun, sexy, erotic thriller. And I can finally say I've seen another Brian De Palma film. So, okay, next up, actually the day after we saw Body Double, we finally got to see Longlegs, the very highly anticipated Longlegs. And let me just say really quickly, we saw Longlegs not once, not twice, but 3 times at the movie theater in July. And I loved it more and more upon each viewing. Dalton and I did review this film after our first watch of it. It's on my channel. You can check that out if you're interested, but yeah, I definitely noticed a lot more on subsequent viewings of the film, just little things that I didn't pick up for whatever reason the first few times. It's just one of those films that really sinks into your psyche and lingers there. It probably has my favorite opening of a horror film in a long time. Performances are amazing, the soundtrack is awesome, and I'm still quoting Longlegs like every day since watching it. So I still don't think it's 100% perfect, but I do think it is very close to being a perfect movie for me. I just have some little issues with dialogue here and there, and also the very, very end of the film. But yeah, this is hands down going to be my favorite horror film of the year. It might be my favorite film of the year across all genres. I give it 4.5 stars. I truly don't know how anything is gonna top this year for me. I don't think I want anything to top it. Okay, so after we watched Longlegs, it kind of got us talking about some of the films that we heard being associated with Longlegs. You know, the ones that were being really heavily circulated, like Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac, and Seven. So Dalton and I actually decided to rewatch Seven from 1995. This is one of Dalton's favorite films, and it had been so long since I've seen it. I was probably like 12 the last time I saw Seven, and it was most likely on cable. So I needed a rewatch of this. I think this movie is so damn good. I wound up rating it 4 stars, so don't kill me. I technically like Longlegs better. The performances in this are just hypnotic. That whole ending sequence had me on the edge of my seat sweating, heart pounding. It's an amazing thriller, super 90s. I'm super glad that we watched this one. Okay, so after we watched Seven, Longlegs was still on my mind, of course. So Dalton and I finally decided to watch The Blackcoat's Daughter from 2015, also by Oz Perkins. Neither of us had ever seen another film from Oz Perkins before, and we actually got super close to watching this one before we watched Longlegs, but the timing wasn't right and we just didn't have time for that. But we finally sat down and watched it one day, and Oz Perkins really loves Satan, doesn't he? Okay, so this one is another complicated one because although it is very slow and unnerving and captivating and beautiful, and I was invested in it even though I had no idea what was going on for more than half the time, it just didn't really land for me, which is super disappointing because I feel like it really had potential to be something really special and unique, and it just didn't end up being that. When it ended, I was just like, okay. It just felt like it was missing something for me. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, which is by no means terrible. I'm definitely in no rush to rewatch that one. Okay, so a little change of pace. Dalton and I watched another non-horror film. So this is a film that he had seen before and really wanted me to watch it. So he showed me The Florida Project from 2017, and I'm really glad that he did. This one it's weird because it's just hard for me to describe for some reason, and I think it's because this is a movie that you just have to kind of experience for yourself and discover how it makes you feel. It's a gorgeous film. I really have not seen too many films that look like this, that look this beautiful and saturated, despite this really authentic grittiness that it also has at the same time. It's genuine, honest, lighthearted in moments, heartbreaking in moments, and there's just a lot to be appreciated with this film, and I'm super glad that Dalton showed it to me. Okay, so last film I watched in July was another rewatch for me, and I don't know why I wanted to rewatch this movie so bad. It had been on my mind for just the longest time, and that is Mother from 2017. So I actually watched this in theaters when it first came out. That was the only time I ever watched it. I never rewatched it, but I do remember how anxious and angry the film made me feel back then when I first saw it. But I do remember it being really good, so we decided to rewatch it, and I wound up giving it a 3.5 star rating on this rewatch. It's weird to say that I enjoy this film because it's like impossible to actually enjoy this film. Like, nobody enjoys this film. You just simply can't, but it is a really beautiful movie. It is quite bizarre, but if you understand what's going on metaphorically, it kind of makes a bit more sense. It's still a really tough watch, so I don't know if I can just recommend it to anyone, but I do think it's worth a watch at least once. Also, I just want to quickly mention some TV shows that I also watched in July. I didn't mention any TV shows in my June recap because I didn't think anybody was interested in TV shows, but what the hell, why not mention them here? It's only 2 shows. So we're watching The Bear, of course. I feel like everyone's watching The Bear. We're still catching up on the latest season, but yeah, this is an amazing show. I never thought I would be that into it, and it's a really popular show right now, and I often kind of have a tendency to be stubborn and snub really popular shows, but I'm so glad that we decided to watch this one day because I love it. And the other TV show I'm watching, or rewatching I should say, is Felicity. I'm watching this by myself. I've already watched the entirety of Felicity when I was way younger. It's a comfort show for me. I swear, every few years I will rewatch Felicity, My So-Called Life, Dawson's Creek, and Freaks and Geeks. Those are hands down the best teen drama shows ever made, and they're all from the 90s. Go figure. They're so nostalgic for me, and I will rewatch all those shows till the end of time. Okay, so that really was everything I watched in July. I still think it was a pretty good month. Let me know what you guys think about some of the stuff that I watched. Let me know what you watched in July. And I'm just really enjoying doing these types of videos. I love recommending stuff to you guys. Hope you feel the same. So thank you for watching. I'll have all my links in the description box below, including my new Patreon. So check that out if you want to. But yeah, I'll see you in my next video.